I imagine for a moment that tomorrow the sun simply explodes. A thought so terrifying it sends chills down your spine, doesn't it? This fiery ball of gas, our sun, is the lifeblood of our planet, the engine that fuels life as we know it. Without its warmth and light, Earth would be a frozen, lifeless rock floating in the vast emptiness of space. But what if in a catastrophic turn of events our sun were to explode? The immediate aftermath would be nothing short of apocalyptic. Darkness would engulf the Earth as the light that once bathed our world flickers out. Temperatures would plummet, making survival for any living organism a near impossibility. Chaos would reign supreme as the world as we know it crumbles. An unthinkable hypothesis, yes, but one that bears exploring for the sheer enormity of its implications. Now that we've painted a terrifying picture, let's delve into the science behind this unfathomable event. To understand what might happen if the sun exploded, we first need to understand the sun itself. The sun, our nearest star, is a celestial body of hot gases undergoing a constant thermonuclear process. This process, known as fusion, is the heart of the sun's life cycle. Here's how it works. In the sun's core, hydrogen atoms collide at high speeds, fusing together to form helium. This fusion process unleashes a tremendous amount of energy in the form of light and heat, which is what makes the sun shine and provides us with warmth and light. But as the sun ages, changes occur. Over billions of years, the hydrogen in the core gets used up, and less is available for fusion. When there's not enough hydrogen to maintain the fusion process, the core starts to contract under its own gravity, which causes the core to heat up. As the core heats up, the outer layers of the sun expand. This phase in the sun's life cycle is known as the red giant phase. During this phase, the sun's diameter can expand up to 200 times its current size, engulfing the inner planets, possibly even Earth. However, the sun doesn't explode during this phase. Instead, it puffs off its outer layers, resulting in a beautiful planetary nebula. The core, now mostly helium, continues to contract until it becomes hot enough to start the fusion of helium into heavier elements like carbon and oxygen. This process continues until the fusion fuel is exhausted. The sun's core then collapses under its own gravity, leaving behind a dense, hot core known as a white dwarf. This white dwarf cools and dims over billions of years, eventually fading to black. This is the ultimate fate of our sun, a slow, gradual process that will take place over the course of about 5 billion years. So, while the sun is eventually going to change dramatically, an explosion isn't in its future. But what if it were? The sun exploding isn't a likely event. But if it were to happen, the physics involved would be fascinating. Let's delve into this a bit deeper, shall we? Firstly, we need to understand that our sun, just like any star, is a delicate balance of forces. Gravity pulls everything inward, trying to collapse the star. But the nuclear fusion at the star's core creates an outward force, counteracting gravity. When a star runs out of fuel, gravity wins and the star collapses under its own weight. Now, this collapse is not a slow, gentle process. It's more like a high-speed train hitting a brick wall. The core of the star undergoes a dramatic compression, and the outer layers of the star bounce back from this condensed core, triggering a supernova explosion. In a supernova, a colossal amount of energy is released in a very short time. This energy is so vast that it briefly outshines the entire galaxy. It's like a billion lightning bolts all going off at the same time. And then there's the shockwave. This is a ripple of energy that shoots outwards from the supernova, traveling at speeds of up to 20% the speed of light. This shockwave plows through the interstellar medium, pushing and pulling on gas and dust and creating beautiful, intricate patterns that we see as nebulae. But this shockwave doesn't just sculpt the cosmos, it's also a cosmic forge. The intense temperatures and pressures within the shockwave trigger nuclear reactions, creating new elements. In fact, many of the elements that make up the world around you, and even you yourself, were created in such stellar explosions. This hypothetical supernova would be catastrophic, to say the least. But what exactly would it mean for us here on Earth? In the unthinkable event of our sun exploding, the aftermath would be swift and devastating. The first thing to consider is the loss of light and heat. Yes, it would become instantly dark, but the descent into frigid temperatures would be more gradual. You see, even without the sun's constant heat, Earth retains some warmth, but within a week, the average global surface temperature would drop below freezing, and after a year, it would dip to a chilling negative 100 degrees Fahrenheit. Next, there's the Earth's orbit to think about. Right now, our planet is held in its path by the sun's gravity. Without that gravitational pull, Earth would move off in a straight line into space, essentially becoming a rogue planet. A pretty lonely existence, wouldn't you agree? But the most sobering effect would undoubtedly be the extinction of life. Without the sun's energy, photosynthesis would stop, halting the production of oxygen and the food chain. In a matter of weeks, most plants would perish, followed by herbivores and then carnivores. Only certain microorganisms deep below the Earth's surface, relying on geothermal heat, might survive this sunless existence. And yet, despite the bleakness of this scenario, there's a silver lining. While the thought of the sun exploding is terrifying, rest assured, it's not something we need to worry about. Our sun, like all stars, has a life cycle, and it's not due to end anytime soon. So let's continue to bask in its light and warmth, and marvel at the energy that powers life on our beautiful blue planet.